Left illustration, there is a short upper lip, because of which the oral seal is not obtained. So there is no competency of lips, right? As in case of right illustration, image B, lips are of normal length, but still there is no oral seal because of prominent and proclined incisors. So these are potentially competent, because once you address this proclination of teeth, then the seal of lips can be obtained as usual. Hi, hope you guys are all doing good. So let's continue with our paper discussion video series part 5. I hope you guys are ready. So first we'll discuss the following topic, the role of platelets in achieving blood hemostasis. So whenever there is any damage to blood vessel, so how is clotting process initiated? What's the role of platelets? Because there seems to be a question on the same. So platelets, as you know, are responsible for formation of intrinsic prothrombin activator, and this substance is responsible for onset of blood clotting. In the blood clot, blood cells, including platelets, as you can see, get entangled within the fibrin threads, and cytoplasm of platelets also contains contractile proteins, namely actin, myosin, and thromboxane, which are responsible for clot retraction. So platelets also do have a role in clot retraction. And what's their role in hemostasis in specific? Platelets accelerate the hemostasis by 3 possible ways. Number 1, platelets secrete 5-HT, which causes the constriction of blood vessels. Number 2, due to adhesive property, platelets seal the damage in blood vessels, like in case of capillaries. And number 3, by formation of temporary plug, platelets seal the damage in blood vessels, as evident in this particular illustration. And also additional role of platelets in repair of ruptured blood vessel. We have platelet-derived growth factor, which is formed in cytoplasm of platelets, which is useful for repair of endothelium and other structures of ruptured blood vessels. And platelets also have a role in defense mechanism. But by the property of agglutination, platelets encircle the foreign bodies and destroy them. Defensive action. So these are some of the functions of platelets, including the one trying to achieve hemostasis. Okay, I hope it's clear. And if you need any further information in regard to this, do let me know in the comment section. Now let's move on to the next topic. I got a keyword macular denser. So here is some information regarding the same. As you can see in the illustration, juxtaglomerular apparatus, JG apparatus, it's formed by 3 different structures, which include macular denser, extraglomerular mesanglial cells, and juxtaglomerular cells. And this macular denser is the end portion of thick ascending segment before it opens into DCT, or distal convoluted tubule. And as you can see in this illustration, it is situated between the afferent and efferent arteriole, more closer towards afferent arteriole. And macular denser is formed by tightly packed cuboidal epithelial cells. That's histology pertaining to macular denser. And let me know if you need any additional information regarding macular denser or anything relevant to this particular question. Now let's move on to the next topic. So I got keywords dentinogenesis imperfecta, shell teeth. So here is some literature regarding the same. So the ones you can see, they are IOPs, periapical radiographs of posterior quadrants, which are demonstrating irregular enamel and dentin with wide pulp chambers resembling shell teeth. And McDougall et al. Way back in 1999 stated that the manifestations of dentinogenesis imperfecta 2 can differ from those of dentinogenesis imperfecta 1 by presence of multiple pulp exposures, normal non-mineralized pulp chambers and canals, and a generalized appearance of shell teeth. They illustrated the amber discoloration of teeth, attrition, fractured enamel, as well as classic shell teeth appearance on radiographs. Okay, so this is some information regarding those keywords. Now let's move on to the next question. So there seems to be a question on posterior third of tongue, which is retracted or raised by which of the following muscles. So those are the keywords which I received. So if you observe, there are various intrinsic and extrinsic muscles for tongue, and the ones which you can see now, they are extrinsic muscles. So we have paratoglossus, styloglossus, hyoglossus, genioglossus, each having a specific function. So if you look into this table, we can see various extrinsic muscles of tongue, their origin, insertion, and their actions. So genioglossus protrudes the tongue when acting together with its counterpart of opposite side. Hyoglossus depresses the sides of tongue, makes the dorsal surface convex. Styloglossus draws the side of tongue upwards and backwards. Palatoglossus pulls up the root of the tongue of the posterior aspect of the tongue and approximates palatoglossal arches. And if you observe, each muscle has a specific shape. Consider this equally important. So genioglossus is fan-shaped muscle. Hyoglossus is flat quadrilateral muscle. Styloglossus is elongated slit. Palatoglossus is a slender slit, as evident in this illustration. Now let's move on to the specific movements of tongue and the muscles which are affecting those movements. So protrusion of tongue, genioglossus muscles, both sides. Retraction of tongue, styloglossus muscles, both sides. Depression of tongue, hyoglossus muscles of both sides. Elevation of posterior one-third, I think this was the question, posterior. So palatoglossus muscles of both sides acting together. And finally, change in shape of tongue, intrinsic muscles. Right? Now, let's move on to the next topic. BMW, I'm not talking about car, I'm talking about biomedical waste management. So there seems to be a question on waste sharps, how you discard them. So as per the latest 2016 guidelines, we have new color coding of white containers or bags which are puncture-proof, leak-proof or tamper-proof containers are to be used for disposing waste sharps, including metals, right? You can find that literature here. And also a table which is available in our government website, right? In the official website. I'll share links in the description part of the video. You can go through the same. So you can see hospital waste has been categorized into biomedical waste, general waste and other waste. And biomedical waste, BMW, we have this new updated set of rules 2016. And 2018, there have been some amendments as well. So you can follow them. So you can see biomedical waste, we have color coding of containers where specific waste has to be discarded in specific colored containers, color coding. So we have yellow, red, white, and blue. As you can see, white corresponds to like waste sharps, including metals, have to be discarded in a container, which is white in color. Right? And rest of them, you can go through them as per your convenience and time availability. And consider this topic very, very important, biomedical waste management. Okay. Now, let's move on to the next topic of question. So there seems to be a question on what's the ratio of anatomic and artistic portion of cast. So it's 3:1 as evident in this particular illustration, greater amount of anatomic portion compared to artistic portion. So what's this anatomic portion? It consists of actual impressions of dental arch and its surrounding structures. Whereas the artistic portion is a base of the cast which consists of plaster base that supports the anatomic portion and helps in analyzing the occlusion and obviously orientation of study models. So the ratio of anatomic portion to artistic portion is 3:1. Right? So consider this very, very important. Now let's move on to the next topic. What are the reasons for difficulty in speech, chattered speech in case of complete denture patients? So if you observe various consequences of increased vertical dimension, decreased vertical dimension, here is some relevant information. And because of increase in vertical dimension, there can be difficulty in swallowing, including difficulty in speech, right? And what do you mean by chattered speech or chattering? So as per dictionary, chatter means to utter rapid short sounds suggestive of language but inarticulate and indistinct, right? I hope it's clear. Now, again, let me know if you need any additional information in the comment section. Let's move on to the next question. So a straightforward question from Applegate's rule number 6 or 7. So those are the keywords which I received, which we already discussed in our classes. So these are various Applegate rules. So you can go through them as per your convenience. So the following rules should be considered to classify partially edentulous arches based on Kennedy's classification. And during the initial examination of patient, if it is diagnosed that any of the teeth require extraction, it should be done prior classification as we already discussed in our classes, right? So Applegate rules, rule 1 to rule 8. Now let's move on to the next topic, lip competency. So you can find 2 illustrations. So let's review some information regarding the same. In both these cases, you can see a seal is not applied. I'm talking about the ability of the lips to cover the upper centrals. Right? So there is no competency. Let's review some information. Examination of lips at rest. orthodontic diagnosis. A general appraisal should be made of the shape of lips and their posture at rest. Note particularly whether the upper lip is really short from the columella to vermilion border, that is till the red margin, and it should almost cover the upper incisor teeth, which is not happening in both of these illustrations A and B. Competency of lips is defined as the ability of lips to approximate without any strain, as in this case. Note the thickness of lips. If the lips do not form an anterior oral seal at rest, as you can see in the both illustrations, they are described as incompetent unless they are merely separated by proclined upper incisors and are of sufficient length to come together when the dental interference is removed. Such lips are described as potentially competent, as in case of right illustration. Left illustration, there is a short upper lip, because of which the oral seal is not obtained. So there is no competency of lips, right? As in case of right illustration, image B, lips are of normal length, but still there is no oral seal because of prominent and proclined incisors. So these are potentially competent, because once you address this proclination of teeth, then the seal of lips can be obtained as usual, right? I hope it's clear. So if the lips do not form an anterior oral seal at rest, they are described as incompetent, as in case of A or left illustration, unless they are merely separated by proclined upper incisors and are of sufficient length to come together when the dental interference is removed, as in case of right illustration, in which case we describe them as potentially competent. I hope it's clear. Now, as I mentioned, in case of illustration, incompetency due to short upper lip associated with deep mentolabial sulcus, and B, potentially competent lips. Now let's move on to the next topic, the final topic of this video. We received the following keywords: action potential, skeletal muscle, depolarization, repolarization, voltage gated sodium channels, potassium channels, and so on. So based on this, we compiled the following information. So this represents action potential in skeletal muscle. So as you can see, we have resting membrane potential, latent period, depolarization, and repolarization. So what's depolarization? A reversal of charges. So depolarization is initial phase of action potential in which the inside of muscle becomes positive and outside becomes negative. That is the polarized state. That is, resting membrane potential is abolished, resulting in depolarization. Repolarization is a phase of action potential in which the muscle reverses back to resting membrane potential. That is, within a short period after depolarization, the inside of muscle becomes negative and outside becomes positive. So the polarized state of muscle is re-established. Voltage-gated sodium channels, these are integral membrane proteins that change conformation in response to depolarization of membrane potential, open a transmembrane pore and conduct sodium ions inwards to initiate and propagate action potential. Voltage-gated potassium channels are also transmembrane channels specific for potassium and sensitive to voltage changes in cell membrane potential. During action potential, they play a crucial role in returning the depolarized cell to a resting state. And also we received another keyword, ligand-gated ion channels, which are also integral membrane proteins that contain a pore which allows a regulated flow of selected ions across the plasma membrane. This ion flux is passive and driven by electrochemical gradient for permeant ions. So you can refer Sembolingam, page number 190, for additional information in regard to the same. Also, if you need any additional relevant information about this particular topic, just leave a comment below this video, right? So these are some of the topics which I wanted to highlight in this specific video. I hope this is useful. So far, we covered around 50 topics in the form of these paper discussion videos. I hope the information discussed is useful, and always you need any additional information relevant to these topics, just leave a comment and give us at least 24 to 48 hours. We'll update the same in the description part of the video. Any clarification, any additional information, right? So your feedback is always welcome. Wish you all the best. Love you all.